Do you want me to move?
Mike, thanks for coming out in the cold.
Thanks for having me in this lovely weather.
I know you're over there crying. You're a little upset. But you got to hear your story, man. It's a great story. You got to inspire the next guy that wants to put a womp womp on their Honda.
That's nice, dude. A womp womp on. That's all I do to you is put womp womps on Hondas.
Well, that's what I knew you as. You know, you were into putting womp womps on the Hondas. And then all of a sudden you were working at Auto Image, grinding away, and now you're the owner. It's a pretty cool story.
It's pretty cool.
How long have you been there?
Auto Image?
Yeah.
God. Total, probably 12 years. Yeah, 12 years.
12 years in total.
Yeah.
And it was actually funny, and we laugh about this story, but we were working at A&P together.
Same plaza.
Same plaza.
Same plaza. Didn't go far.
It was snowing out, so we got in the womp womp.
My Honda with the womp womp.
And we started doing donuts. And Dave, the store manager, came running out, and I literally tucked and rolled out of your car.
He did. Got me fired.
You got fired.
He pretended to push carts in. This guy didn't push nothing, but he pushed a cart in and I got fired.
Dude, that was a great story. You hated it anyway, so did I. I didn't stay there much longer.
No, it was terrible.
But right after then, you were 17, 18. That's when you went right to Auto Image, correct?
Well, that womp womp is why I got into what I got into.
Yeah.
It's funny.
You were all into it, the stereo, all of it.
I never in a million years thought I'd be doing what I was doing. I actually just had this conversation with my stepfather the other day. He's the one. We were sitting in the kitchen, you know, out of high school. I was going to OCC. And I'm like, man, I don't even know what to do. You know, I just want to know what to make money. He's like, well, you love these cars. Why don't you just go work on that? And that's where it all started. I went, applied at Circuit City, didn't know nothing about anything. They gave me a job installing, and then the rest is history, man. Just went from there.
And what did you do when you first went over to Auto Image? Were you just tinting? Were you putting in sound systems? Was it everything?
God. So when I first started Auto Image, I was basically just a little bit of an everything guy. I wasn't the most talented guy at all, you know, so my job was really just to learn as much as I could from everybody. So, I mean, I went from Auto Image, I worked there when I was very young, probably like 19-ish. Learned a lot there. I met this one guy who was very influential just in how I learned. He taught me everything I know in this business. So, you know, from how to tint, how to install, and I followed him down to Atlantic City. We worked at a shop together for probably about 5-6 years. Learned everything I could from him, had enough of the hour drive and came back to Auto Image. When I came back to Auto Image 12 years ago was when I really shined. I mean, I was just a little young, a little cocky, but I was just really, really good at what I did. And it showed. You know, I went from just being a guy in the back to going up front, making a sale. And, you know, one day the owner just came in, handed me the keys, said, you're in charge.
Yeah, well, how long ago was that he kind of just fully stepped away and you were just running the show?
I'd probably say after the first 2 years, maybe the first 2-3 years. I mean, Auto Image was, I mean, it's a staple in the community. That place has been there forever. But I had a couple people that just weren't the best as far as running it, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. So once I was there for 2-3 years, I created a lot of good relationships, just handled people very well. The name kind of got back. And once I had that going and the numbers went up, he kind of just stepped away. And he was very good to me, man. He let me make all the mistakes I needed to make.
You learn along the way. That right there is a great point. Make the mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Elaborate on that a little bit more.
So, I mean, you make mistakes as far as, you know, employees, how long to keep employees, God. Inventory, you know, what happens when you don't turn inventory. He really held me accountable, even with money. You know, like I knew what we had in the bank. I knew what we had to spend. And I knew how much it cost to be open every day. And I just, you know, if the store needed money in the beginning to stay open, you know, like say I brought in too much product or we were paying guys too much, that kind of went against me. You know, he held me responsible for it all. You know,
yeah. It's a great learning lesson. So he was really a good coach / mentor to you.
Oh, yeah.
In business and maybe personal life as well.
Absolutely.
And that gentleman, he had owned some pretty substantial businesses besides Auto Image, right?
Yeah, so I mean, my time knowing him, he owned, I think at one point we had maybe I want to say maybe 6 or 7 auto images at one point. We had to slim it down, but he also owns, I want to say close to 300, a little over 300 mobile stores, a facilities company, real estate all over.
Hey, he's making moves.
Oh yeah.
So you knew that, hey, this is a guy that if he's telling me this, if he's being hard on me, I should really listen because you're seeing the success that the guy was having.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely harder on me than most. I mean, there's a lot of guys or a lot of people just in general that really looked up to him. And I feel as if I don't think most people take constructive criticism or criticism that well at all. And I kind of take things to heart. So
you try to improve on it.
Yeah, I mean, so when somebody tells you something, or somebody like him tells me something, big or small, I took that to heart, and I made sure that, I was the best in my mind at everything for him and for me, because here's a guy who, took a chance on me. At that point I was 24 years old. I was having my first child. I really needed to step my game up. So, I mean, I did everything. I mean, I went to trade shows. I went, reading books on sales because I never really sold anything to people. I was just a guy that put things in cars, so I read books on management. I mean, I really became obsessed with the process of being the best in my area, in my industry, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, I watched from afar and, hit you up here and there, and I could tell that you were totally dialed in. You're up early in the morning, getting after it. If you wanted to find your, your piece, it seemed like you were maybe hitting the fishing and
you gotta have a little escape.
You weren't partying. You weren't into dumb shit. You're like, I'm gonna hustle. I'm gonna potentially own this business one day. And that was really gonna be my next question. Did you ever think that you were gonna own it? Was he alluding to that you could own it or you could take it over?
So we listen to a lot of the same things, me and you. I listened to, I was either I listened to a podcast or maybe I read it in a book, but it was really becoming the CEO of yourself, and that's what I talk about. I always considered myself my own business, whether I was in business for him or I was going to do it for myself. All these relationships, everything that I learned was to just better myself, so if I was the best in this business, whether I worked for him or I went and did it myself,
someone's going to scoop you up and it's going to benefit you.
Yes. And I knew at some point, I was just to the point where everybody that we dealt with, came through me, whether it was dealerships or, just longtime customers. So if I really wanted to, the transition, of course, would have been a little bit more difficult as far as the revenue. It wouldn't have been instant like it is with taking over Auto Image. But I knew I had the relationships and I had all the tools to eventually do it myself. So whether I took this from him or opened up my own, my end goal was to obviously be a business owner.
So fast forward, it's about a year and a half now that you have now purchased the business, correct? What were you thinking when you were taking that leap of faith? Yes, you already had the relationships. Yes, you already knew how to run it. But again, that's still a little scary to say, I'm now really taking over the keys. I'm taking over the cards. I'm taking over the accounts. Everything's on me.
It was fucking scary. I mean,
talk about taking that risk and the reward that was, beyond that risk that you could see and you could visualize.
I mean, look, man, it's a lot, when I knew what the business was worth. I knew what I was going to be paying for the business. I know how much debt I was going to be in. And I think to anybody that's scary, it was a real, I got to get to work. Yeah. But, the reward wasn't even financial for me. This business that I'm in, it's very niche. There's guys that do it. There's guys that are in it. There's guys that are out of it. But, the guys that I work with here, my employees now, I've known some of these guys since I was 17, 18 years old, So for me, it was more along, the lines of the most rewarding thing for me now is having my employees. One of my guys that I work with just bought his first brand new vehicle. He's so happy about it. He's older now, and he works really hard, and at the end of the month when, he gets his bonus because he worked this hard, he comes to work, he's happy, his family seems happier. To me, that's the most rewarding part. Like, is the money great? Yeah. But, the most rewarding thing for me is just watching my employees grow with me.
Now talk about yourself. You're a business owner. You're also a dad,
Yeah.
right? So you're very busy. You have a girlfriend. Life is not
It's not easy.
life is not just stopping because now you're a business owner, right? I got a pregnant wife. I got a 2-year-old. I have multiple businesses. It requires a lot of my time, all of it. How do you find a way to balance all of that?
We'll go back to another book. So have you ever read Make Your Bed in the Morning?
Mm-hmm.
So I listen to a lot of his stuff too, and he makes a really good point. And I used to live by this without even knowing I lived by this. I believe you can either be truly successful in business or in home life. And it's very hard to even try to be successful in both at the same time. I've worked really hard. God, I'm 36. I mean, I can remember my sister telling him, "You work too much," but I knew my ultimate goal was to be where I am today. As far as finding balance now, I think it's easier to balance a little bit now more that I own the place. I can kind of take a step back a little bit. A lot of things happen in my life that really made me open my eyes and make more time for my children, my girlfriend, my home life, where that never was me. I live, breathe, work. This is what I need to do. This is where I need to be so I can provide for myself. I can provide for my kids. I can provide for my kids' kids. But
Yeah, and you had a difficult situation
oh yeah,
in your life, and it's up to you if you want to elaborate. But something like that hit you as you're a young man, trying to grow your family and trying to provide for your family, and trying to maybe one day own your own business so you can have the flexibility that you're maybe starting to find now. Not so much recently, right? COVID's killing you with your employees just like everybody else. But talk a little bit more about that difficult time in your life. And how you really got through that. Because I think a lot of times as young business owners, we hit that first test and we give up. This is too hard. I'm just going to go make my 20 an hour, my 30 an hour, whatever it may be.
yeah. I would never settle for that, man. Making $20, $30. I'm not saying that there's people that need to do that and there's people that want to do that. I just knew that, I was just meant to do something special. And, I lost my son. He was 6 months old. That was the hardest time of my life, mentally, physically, emotionally. And I think getting through that has really made me, the person I am. I could tell anybody that's going through a hard time, you can read all the books, you can listen to all the material, you can talk to as many people as you want. You got to do the work, man. And when I say that, I mean feeling depressed. You feel alone. But I still had a 9-year-old little boy at that time.
Yeah.
I still had a house that I had to take care
Couldn't
of.
give up.
And so I got up every day. And I just did not let my emotions run me.
Yeah.
I got up every day. I did what I needed to do. I helped people as much as I possibly could, but during that time, I just really learned to be, who I am today.
Gave you a whole different perspective.
Oh my God, life is so short, man. I tell anybody that tomorrow's never guaranteed.
I have a wholesaler, Matt Newman, and Matt, I know you watched these. Matt had come down with a pretty serious stage 4 brain tumor about 8-10 years ago. Matt, forgive me if I'm getting the years wrong. Beautiful family, awesome wife, an absolute killer in our business. Guy does really, really extremely well, and just a ball of energy in life. And poof, he gets hit with this. And instantly, a guy who was running like an animal to hit all the goals and accolades in our industry, and he had them, was just, this is my fight now.
Yeah.
I'm a lion. This is my fight. This is what I got to do. I got to beat this so I could be around. And he's now still alive.
It's amazing.
knock on wood, he's still cancer-free with a pretty aggressive stage 4 cancer. And he wrote a book, and it says, it really talks about starting your life from the end, thinking about the end, and then thinking about what could go wrong, and then living your life that way. And his book is called Starting at the Finish Line. It's really good, actually. You should check it out.
We'll check it out.
Yeah, so that hits home for me. And dude, I knew from afar, we weren't extremely tight at the time, but again, we knew each other a long time. I also knew your sister. You know, you were just doing what you had to do.
Just got to survive, man.
Yeah, and you know, you inspired me from afar, because that's not easy shit to go through.
Again, a lot of people don't come back from stuff like that, man. It's real deep, you know, and you just gotta. My only advice is just
keep moving.
Keep moving. You know, I made some good decisions. I made some bad decisions. Whatever those decisions were, I just kept moving. You know, if you keep moving, you'll get through anything. You know, and not only did I get out, but I came out just better, stronger. My life is in an amazing place. You know, I got this business. You know, my relationship with my children. You know, just.
Yeah, you're in a good spot, good headspace.
It's great, and it's a lot, man. And you know, without it, I wonder where I would be today. But with it, really helped me be the person.
Yeah,
the person I need to be. Taught me empathy.
Yeah, empathy is a big thing, especially when you're somebody who's an alpha male and you're running and you're chasing your dreams.
I don't ever lose. You know, in my mind, I don't ever lose. You know, there's nothing ever wrong.
Yep.
And when there really is something wrong, man, it really brings you to a place, and you just Yeah, and it humbles you. It really humbles you.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely saw a change in you after that, and it's definitely been for the better. But let's talk about some of the minor problems, right? Let's talk about auto image. You have a business. You're very busy. When I come in there, we talk about some of the business you and I do together. I see it. You've got an earbud in. You're answering the phone. Some guy's coming out of the back. You got a customer coming in. He wants to get a remote start. You got another guy coming in. He wants wheels. You're now over the last 2 years. We bust chops, but some of our friends, they're like, Mike, where's my stuff? And you're dealing with supply chain issues. You're dealing with vendors not getting you stuff. You're dealing with employees, COVID, a pandemic. As a business owner, how do you push through those things? Because I know what you're going to say, because most people don't do it, but you just step up and get it done. Why and how?
Honestly, it's just the only thing I've ever done. That's just how I learned to work. That's just how I've learned to be. And I truly believe you're either going to make it or you're not. And you either have what it takes or you don't. A lot of people come in there, they see, we're very busy, customers, phone's always ringing. It's not easy to get there. It's not easy to deal with everybody. It's not easy to deal with employees. It's not easy to deal with supply. It's not easy to deal with anything. But man, everybody has their purpose. It comes right back down to, what's your purpose? I truly believe that everybody has a why. Mm-hmm. And my why really, especially after what we just talked about, is my kids, man. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, no matter how frustrating it is, how many times I want to throw the telephone at somebody's face, or I just, I don't want to deal with it anymore. I just think about my boys, man, and I just keep pushing, whether if I'm at work at 7 o'clock in the morning to get a car done for that day, or I'm staying till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, man. I'm just a guy that's going to get it done.
We're doing this on Saturday in the freezing cold, because Wednesday you weren't able to make it because you're like, Ryan, I got employees out with COVID. I got to stay here and tint cars. I got upset customers, which you were like, I very much understand. I got to get some stuff done.
Yeah. Listen, man, I mean, we're normally a staff of 8 or 9 people. 2 weeks ago, we were down to just me and a guy and a half, and let's just say we do X amount of dollars a week with 9 people. I made sure we still did X amount of dollars with 3 people. All that means is you just got to work that much harder. I'm very blessed. I have some really...
All that means is you can fire some people. That's some more margin.
It's really funny you say that, because that was the first thing I thought about. But listen, man, I mean, everybody is
That's where my business mind goes.
Yeah, everybody's important, man. Everybody has their own spot. And to be honest with you, for me to be up front, talking to customers in the back, working on cars, it's counterproductive. If we did X amount of dollars last week with just me and 3 other guys, well, Imagine if I was up front. Imagine if I was dealing with customers. We could have did that much more. But the moral of the story is
So that's another thing with small business. And I'll push back on you a little bit because anybody that comes on, I got to give them a hard time a little bit. I do see you wearing a lot of hats. And sometimes as a business owner, you have to wear a lot of hats. Some of the mentors that I have sought out, some of the coaching that I pay for, a lot of times is scaling. And it's hard to give up another $50,000 to hire someone to do something that, not that you're not good at, but it's not where your expertise is. I look at you as a rainmaker in that you have the relationships with the dealerships. Everybody knows Mike's face and voice when they call in. That's probably where you're best suited, right? You can have a little CFO that you hire an accountant to run your books. You can have another sales guy that's maybe doing some different types of sales. How do you see Auto Image growing? What types of pieces do you think you need to add that allows you to do what you do best?
listen. Of course, I want to grow. I mean, this year I'm looking to open up another location. But the key ingredient is, and I only say this because of the thing compared to the key ingredient is finding somebody
Like you.
that's very similar to me. I'm very fortunate to have found a guy who is very like-minded. He sells very well. He's very good with customers. For somebody who doesn't own the business, he really cares about the business. And those are the core things I think my old boss saw in me. The only difference is I came from a background where I could do everything physically, where he can do everything else. He can do the sales like I can. He can run the business like I can. But he can't physically just get up back there and do what I got to do, which is very important. So, I would say a person like me be the key ingredient. But, it's finding that right guy and finding the right employees. If he can't do everything I do, I got to find him the right employees, and that's probably the hardest thing.
And the guy you look up to and who sold you the business, you had mentioned earlier, he's got 300-400 mobile stores and some ownership and other stuff and some real estate, etc. Right? What was that guy doing? He was looking to place people like you in these roles, right? He was not in these mobile stores every day. We talk about plugging in new individuals to help you scale and step away. Number one, to have some more time with your family and close loved ones, but also to potentially grow Auto Image. And I know recently we spoke and you were looking for some space. Tell me a little bit more about what you're looking to do currently with your space today and how you're going to maybe change or grow that and then adding an additional location.
So, adding an additional location would be nothing not as large of a scale as I have now. I'd want to do something a little smaller, something a little more high labor cost, low inventory or low dollar cost. Something we can make a lot of money doing that doesn't cost me a lot of money.
Tint.
Yeah, remote starts, tint,
ceramic
detailing,
coat.
ceramic coat. Yeah, and we're trying to find a very specific area. I spend a lot of time. We drive around. I know most people in this business, and there's a couple areas where it's missing. And I'm really trying to focus on those areas. So, we talked. If there's a good area, a good spot I can find there, that's something I want to do. For sure.
So for the people that don't know what Auto Image is exactly, give us a little rundown of the services that you guys offer and provide.
So, Auto Image, we do a lot of. Our bread and butter is always window tint. I've been tinting windows for 18 years. I love it. We do a lot of window tint, rims and tires. Everybody knows me around here. I'm the rim and tire guy. Lift kits, lowering, truck accessories. We do a lot of. We do a lot of 12 volt. So that consists of audio systems, remote starts, lighting. Anything aftermarket you really could do to a car.
Bed covers for pickups.
That goes under the truck accessories, but yeah. Anything you can really do to a car, I'm your guy.
Yeah, he threw a great cover on mine, which is so simple. I roll it up, I roll it down. I don't got to worry about it being stuck up.
Just give me your credit card. That's all I need.
Yeah, it really was great. The tint, all good. So when you talk about growth, you talk about opening up this second location. We don't have to get into your personal numbers, but where do you see yourself as a revenue business, right, as a whole? It could be 2, 3 locations you could be thinking about. Where do you want to take Auto Image?
Look, man, I saw Auto Image at one point, to between 5 and 7 stores, and shrink back down to 2. Personally, I would love to have anywhere from 2 to 4 stores. And the way that I would do that is, I have a lot of guys that are veterans, that are really good at what they do, and when you're really good at what you do and you've been doing something for a long time, naturally you just want to make more money, right? So, my goal with my guys is, hey, let's find people that want to do this. Let's train them, okay? And once we have guys here that can replace you, let's go and then find you a location. And, now they're living out their dream. And I'm also, carrying out the name and still making money.
So you're looking to potentially create a structure where they would be incentivized to help you open up a new location with maybe your capital and your name,
Yeah.
obviously to grow it. That's pretty cool and it's unique. I think that that's like the Jersey Mike's model. They really bring people up from within their corporate store setting, and they'll place them in stores and give them a piece of it, and then give them the option to buy it. Don't quote me on it, but I think it's something along those lines. And they're one of the largest franchise now in the country.
Yeah.
From a little town of Point Pleasant that we sit in today.
Crazy.
Yeah, real crazy. Do you see bringing your sons into business?
Oh my God, man. There's nothing. So my older son, Parker, he loves, this kid loves cars, Lamborghinis.
I always see you at the car shows with them.
Yeah. He doesn't even, we could live in a cardboard box. If Dad drove a Lamborghini, I'd be the coolest dad on the planet.
Yeah.
But there's nothing more than listen, whatever my kids want to do, I support my kids. My son loves to box. He loves football. He wants to be something new every day. But one of the things I love the most about this business is he's gonna work with me at some point, whether if it's just, summertime, helping out. But I would love for both my boys at some point to just be there with me, and to just watch them work, let them learn. I never really had somebody, I don't want to say like me, I love my mother, my father, my stepfather, everybody's great people, but I never got to go to work, and really learn from somebody the way they would get to come to work and learn from me. So that's my dream, would be for them to come for even a short amount of time, just to come learn.
Yeah, it's also a tough dynamic, right? Because you know that it's your kid and you want to give them the best, foundation to build off of and be successful in what you do or anything. But sometimes it also leads us to coddling our kids, I think, on accident. But you seem like a guy that probably knows what it takes to lead them and set them down the right path.
Yeah, I mean, me and my kids grown up completely different. When I grew up, especially my younger sons or my son's age, I didn't have a lot. Like we grew up in Keyport when I was younger. We lived in a very small house. Me and my sister shared a room when we were younger at one point. My son now, I mean, he's a little bit of a spoiled brat, so my approach with this is, obviously he's not going to grow up the way I grew up. So, how do I make them learn? So Parker, even Grayson, I mean, they get stuff, but I'm trying to get them used to some kind of life. So when that life's taking away, well, how do I get that back?
Yeah, smart.
So he's going to, he's going to learn one way or another. He's going to learn.
So a little bit of housekeeping. I bring this up every episode to remind, this is about spotlighting, again, we grew up together, but other local businesses here in Ocean and Monmouth County. Auto Image is right in Brick, a town over. But it's also about guys that didn't really love the traditional route, right?
Oh, no.
You were like me. You did not like school.
Dude, let me tell you something. It's not that I didn't like school. I just had a hard time. If it doesn't interest me, I just always had a problem with it. And the Beans class and...
there.
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy math, so in my mind, I'm like, when am I ever going to do this? So, I mean, it's, when I applied myself, I did wonderful. When I was just me, man, I just got by, and...
So what would you say to the kid that was like you or me? I was probably in a little bit more trouble than you were as a kid, but what would you say to that guy that's maybe looking to get into cars?
Or anything?
Yeah, looking to get into anything and really, finish up high school, because I do encourage at least getting that high school diploma.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you need that pretty much to, I don't know about now, but I mean, if somebody came in and like, oh, I didn't graduate high school, I'd probably be like,
yeah.
okay.
But the guy that's not going to go off to college, right? He's like, I'm not going to make my parents spend 150 grand because that's what seems to the going rate nowadays. He's not going to spend 2 years at OCC doing essentially nothing. What would you say to that guy or girl?
They want to make it?
How would you go? How would you go about helping that person? I'm launching a coaching group soon. I've hired a ton of coaches over my career. I've spent easily hundreds of thousands of dollars in my industry and out of it.
I'm going to say the same thing that I think most people, business owners, entrepreneurs in any space would say. If you want to, if your idea of success is business, is financial freedom, if you reach there, you just got to be ready to work really fucking hard, man. And that's the only thing I can tell you that ever really got me ahead of anybody else. And you can ask anybody that knows me. My old boss, my mentor, I mean, that guy's around tens of thousands of people. You ain't going to meet nobody that's going to work harder than me.
Yeah, you're
I'm going to be there before you. I'm going to be there after you. My job's going to be better than yours. And that's really the only thing that got me ahead in life, man. I could tell you the God's honest truth. You're just not going to be better than me.
So I don't want to keep you out here all night, over an hour. It's cold. I like to ask everybody towards the end of this, 2 other businesses locally, could be Brick, Point, Tom's River, wherever it may be, 2 other businesses that you want to give a shout out that is a young guy or an older guy that is working really hard and you'd love to just give them a shout out.
I'm crying here. This
smoke's killing you.
This smoky.
It shifted towards you again.
Somebody I'd like to give a shout out to. A guy that harasses me all the time, constantly putting my name out there. Really good people. Our boy Brian Kirby at Bayview Mechanical. He's a great guy. Works really hard.
He does harass you. Didn't he just do a lift kit and rims?
Yeah. I mean, he changes his mind more than a normal person changes their underwear. And another local business owner that I'd really like to shout out. Golly. There's another guy that I know. He's a little older than us. He's been in my business for a long time, but this is a guy that works really hard. Went through his own troubles in life, and most recently is really trying to turn his life around. That's my buddy Sean Wall. He owns Automotive Elegance. He's out of Tom's River. Again, he's a little older than me. I don't want to say he's a young guy or he's new to business, but that's just a guy that I know that for a while I really looked up to in this business, and he's done a lot for me, if I ever needed anything.
Cool. Well, dude, I think your story is inspiring, from playing with womp-womps, as I call them, the mufflers, throwing some, you always had a good sound system in that little Honda.
That's what you needed, man.
You have a great story. It's why I wanted to have you on. I have a lot of people that have been reaching out to me and want to reach out. And I've been bugging you the last 3 weeks, like, Mike, we got to get John. We got to get John.
You're very persistent.
Yeah, and I won't stop.
Good.
Just like you won't stop.
You can't.
And I appreciate you coming on and your time on a Saturday night. I know you've been working all day. So
I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. Cheers.
Your water, my whiskey.